Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Keyblade Master and welcome to my Tales of Zestiria review. Now Tales is an RPG series I became a fan of several years ago when I played through Tales of Zestiria. I have since played through several more and right now I'm going to be reviewing the PC version of the latest game, Tales of Zestiria. I bought this one on the PC because I got a new rig and I was kind of curious and trying this game out. And Bandai Namco was offering plenty of extras for those of us who pre-ordered the PC version. We have Yuri Lowell's costume for Sora there, among other things, including a free copy of Tales of Symphonia, so how could I beat that? As I played through this game, though, I realized that this was definitely one of those experimental games that the Tales series is trying to find new ways to grow out and change itself. And it's a bit of a mixed bag because of this. It has one of the best battle systems in a Tales game to date. It makes you use all of your characters. You're not going to be sticking to one group of characters because they work. You're going to be switching in and out characters all the time because of the way the battle system works, and you're going to be enjoying yourself doing it. You might have to use all these characters, but none of them seem wasted, at least when it comes to the combat. Unfortunately, they have this really convoluted, confusing character customization option when it comes to the armor, which really drags the fun down. Added on top of that, it is a JRPG, so you're going to be dealing with a lot of story elements, and the story elements in this game are, well, tedious and boring. Let's take a closer look at Tales of Zestiria, starting with the story, and I'll tell you my ups and downs and problems I've had with this game. Alright. Typical with most of my story segments when I'm reviewing RPGs, I'm going to do a separate video on them to avoid spoilers and to keep people who want to know about the game from having to sit through my exposition and talking about it. But anyways, the overall story just follows a young man named Sora who is becoming the new shepherd who fights the malevolence by using the four forces of nature and being able to talk to the seraphim who control these forces. It's basically your fantasy JRPG. It's okay, but nothing great happens. All the characters are kind of bland and stuck in their tropes. The plot is kind of bland. Nothing really exciting happens. The one character that I really did enjoy, thought was funny, doesn't really come around until the 2/3 marks of the game, and by that point I didn't really care, and to even talk about this character would be too much of a plot spoiler, and yes, I do want to avoid plot spoilers. But the story is bland, and unfortunately the saving grace of the Tales series, the characters and the way they interact with each other, is mostly bland too. So getting through the story was a bit of a chore, unfortunately, which is kind of a shame. I usually look forward to having some laughs with the kooky characters that are usually in the Tales games, and they're not here this time. Alright, let's start talking about the graphics in this game. While the story and characters may be bland, the world that they inhabit is definitely not. I just love the way this world looks, and it's just huge and open. We haven't had that in a Tales game yet. Each world looks fantastic. The visuals and the vistas are great. Overall, this game looks spectacular, and I want to explore and see every part of it, at least in the overworld. Some of the dungeons do look bland, and I do have to be honest, with the PC version at least, there are some odd graphical bugs that pop up from time to time. Either the screen would flake out, or it would just tear, or sometimes even weird bugs like the one I'm showing you in the screenshot would happen. But overall, the graphics are nice, the camera system is okay in most places. Some battles will get you a little too close, but for the most part, it's a really great looking game. Moving on to the sound in this game, the music in this game is beautiful. The overworld themes are great, and some of the dungeon themes are really good too. Take a quick listen at one of the overworld themes. Music is gorgeous. The voice acting is pretty good.
That human probably got caught up in all the lightning just like we did.
More like the other way around. We have her to thank for all that crash boom bang.
characters in this game might suck in my opinion, but it isn't due to a crappy voice cast. They all do a really good job here. I just dislike the characters because of the way they were written. I'll use the same argument when I finally get around to reviewing Tales of Symphonia 2. Again, Emil, my least favorite character in the Tales series, is voiced by Johnny Young Bosch, who's considered by many people to be the best voice actor in the industry. So when you hear me bash the characters on this review as well as my story analysis, know that it has nothing to do with the English vocals, but the way they are written. Let's move on to talking about the core of the game, the gameplay. It's a standard Japanese RPG just like most Tales games. You're going to go out and experience a story, explore a world, and clear dungeons to stop a great evil. I've already gone over that in the story mode, of course. What makes Tales such a great series as far as the gameplay has always been their battle system. And in this one, it's kind of an experiment. And for the most part, as far as combat goes, the experiment works. Never have I played a game where I've had to use all my characters and switch them out so much. Most of the time when I play a Tales game, I get a character cast that I'm comfortable with, usually the hero, a white mage, maybe a black mage, and then some other character, and I just stick to them unless the story forces me to switch them in and out. Here, I was always switching the characters in and out because they each have their own abilities that are going to be useful for certain fights, and the game makes it ridiculously easy to pull this off. The main battle system operates on this rock, paper, scissors formula. Each enemy's got some sort of elemental weakness. Sore makes the contracts with the 4 elemental seraphim, and he's going to be switching in and out of these use of them. Added on top of the character's elemental traits, you also have a transformation system called armatization, in which you can fuse with one of the seraphim characters and gain that character's element. Armatization increases your health, increases your stats a whole lot. Your limit breaks and all that you can pull off are a lot more powerful. But there's a catch. You no longer can really combo all that well. Your blast gauge that allows you to use your special moves slows at a slower rate. And if the character who is armatized dies, you end up losing both a human character and knocking out one of the seraphim characters. Therefore, it's not always wise just to do a battle armatized. It actually pays off to armatize when you need to, and then to de-armatize after you're done needing a certain element attack. It's actually a really, really clever battle system, and I enjoy this game so much because of it. Now, on to the bad parts about the game. While we do have a few clever and even some frustrating dungeons like the water temple here where you have to watch the eyes and use Mikilo's little water shield in order to protect you, there's unfortunately some really boring dungeons, and a lot of times each time you enter a dungeon it just has, well, it's a dungeon feel. There's not a lot of differences in the looks of the dungeons, which is kind of a shame compared to what the overworld offers. But the biggest drawback to this game, as far as gameplay goes, comes from the character customization. Now, I chewed out Tales of Symphonia for being a little bit too simple and not having enough of it. Tales of Zestiria is the opposite problem, almost 180, to the point of being convoluted and confusing. Instead of having these customization choices attached to the character, they are attached to the equipment. Each ability that equipment has that goes onto some grid. If you get so many said ability, you get a bonus. If you line them up in a certain direction on a grid, you get a bonus. Switching in and out changes those bonuses. So even if you get a better piece of equipment, a more expensive piece of equipment, it might actually lower your stats unless you do something to change that armor. It's a convoluted and confusing mess. It makes the Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories battle system look simple in comparison, and I think Bandai Namco knew they had a mess on this hand when they tried it out, because a lot of times the skits trying to explain the details of this equipment system are shown. The characters are either confused or falling asleep, and I was kind of getting a little drowsy myself. The equipment screen is a mess, and that's such a shame because it really does bring the gameplay down a couple of notches, and when you add in that story, it just kind of increases the pain. Tales of Zestiria has several elements that make it a great RPG. It also has a few elements that make it not as good as it should be. My final recommendation for the game, I give it a 3 out of 5. If you're a hardcore Tales fan, or if you're a fan of Japanese RPGs and are looking for another one, Tales of Zestiria is not a bad purchase. However, if you're new to the genre or new to the Tales series, I do not recommend getting this game. Go with Tales of Zestiria or go with Tales of Zestiria first before you get into this one. The convoluted equipment screen and the fact that the characters themselves are boring keep this game from being truly great. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening to this video review. If you want to see my story analysis, feel free to click on that thumbnail that I'm putting up. You can also feel free to click subscribe if you're interested in seeing more of my content. Thank you for watching. This is Tommy the Keyblade Master signing out.